It happens, but small motors like to break down. So I'm going to show you a couple things to check if yours stops working and you can't get it going again. First thing I always like to check is going to be the spark plug, because it's an often overlooked item that people really don't change sometimes, and it's cheap and it's very simple to check. You just get the right size socket, which is usually going to be 7/8, 3/4, or 5/8. Put it on there like this and take it out. You want to look for black buildup on the tip here and make sure it's kind of clean. This one's not bad. Some might look worse. If it does, take a little sandpaper, put it in between, and just run it back and forth. So I cleaned this one. Make sure there's nothing in there. Use like a little air, even just blowing it with your mouth, and then you just start it back and thread it in. I always do it by hand first, obviously, so you don't cross thread. Tighten it up just a little, just so it's snug, plus, and then you stop. Put your wire back on, because you're going to need this for the next step. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion that was not the problem, only because the way the mower stopped working. I believe it was a fuel line, but we're going to try it anyways. Nothing. Next thing you're going to want to check is air, because you need fuel, spark, or air for the motor to run. This is where the air box is in here. So I already have the socket ready. I'm just going to take this off quick, back it up like that. Check to see if it's dirty. It might not be getting air. You can even try to start it with this out, and that'll tell you if this is blocked. I determined it was not the air. That's not the issue why the mower is not starting. Next thing is going to be your fuel line. I already put an inline filter on this one. So what you're going to want to do is take this cover off, which I'm going to do next. Okay, so now I'm going to take this off. This one here, this particular model, has 3 hex heads, which we're going to take off, and this should pop off. Be careful. This is the carburetor behind this plastic thing here. I don't know if yours has one of these, but you don't want dirt to get inside there. I always like to have a little parts tray and a vacuum just to take all the dirt away so it doesn't go inside the motor. Sometimes it's easier to remove the cover plate on top just to get to your carburetor. So in this case, it's just 2 screws on the top here. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so this is your carburetor, guys. This is the bowl. A lot of times there's a little nut in the bottom you can take off to see if there's dirt built up in there. In this case, I'm just going to take the whole thing off just to make it easier. So you have to make sure you remove the fuel line. You should have a clamp ready, because you're going to have to fold the line, because gas is going to come out if there's gas in the tank. Next, there's 3 bolts here. Everyone's different, but those are going to have to come off. Third, these springs are going to have to be removed. What I like to do is take a picture of the actual carburetor and everything before I remove anything, just so I know what it looks like so I can put it back together. Lastly, this right here is going to have to come off, this bolt up top here. That controls the air going into the carburetor. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so now this is the fuel line. I'm going to take that off first, because I know when I take this off, if fuel doesn't come out, that means that this filter is blocked, and we need to get a new inline filter. So I'm going to squeeze this. Everyone's different, and pull it off. Watch yourself. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so we know that the filter is still clean because we saw gas come out. A lot of people are going to tell you to get a little bucket or something to catch the fuel. In reality, it's going to go here. That much is about going to spill it if you can get to it quickly, and it's going to evaporate because gas evaporates quickly. Yeah. So I got the 3 bolts out, and the carburetor's loose. Now we want to make sure we know where these springs are going to go. We can remove them now, like that, and like that. But make sure you don't lose the springs. Next, take this screw out. Now be careful, your carburetor is going to come off. Okay, so we have our carburetor here. Whoop, whoop. Now, you got to be careful. Obviously, the gas is going to leak out because there's gas inside this bowl. There's a little nut in the bottom you're going to want to pop off, like that. You just unscrew it, but be careful, the gas is going to come out. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. There's a little dirt inside the bowl. We're going to want to clean that out with just a normal rag, nothing too linty. Also notice sometimes there's going to be a jet right here. There's a little hole. You want to make sure that all these ports are clean. So you can take a little wire or something and stick it in there and kind of run some carbon choke cleaner through, just to make sure everything goes through smoothly. Kind of think like if it goes on one side, it's got to come out the other. If it doesn't, that's blocked. So with safety glasses on, I'm just going to put the carb hose straw right to this port, and I can see it comes out immediately. I know that's not the problem. Okay, so once we get to this stage, this is the float. This is what controls how much gas goes where. It closes off and shuts the fuel off in here. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that that is working. This one seems to be working just fine. It should do this. If it gets stuck like this, then you're gonna have to fix the float or maybe get a new carburetor. You could actually just fix it by taking it off here and kind of doing some a little engineering on it. But other than that, there's gonna be a port in here, right in there. You can see it. Yep. And we're gonna want to spray some carb cleaner in there. Just make sure it comes out up in here. I can see it's coming out pretty good through there. So we clean that jet out. Okay, so this is going to be the main port where the gas goes into the carburetor. So we're going to want to make sure we spray that pretty good. Okay, if it comes back at you, you know that you're doing a good job. Just watch for it to come out the bottom. If this is open, it's going to come out here. Okay? All about throttle control, folks. All about throttle control. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so there's a port inside here that closes when that lifts. You can see this right here. That actually closes the gas off once the gas fills in the bowl. Okay, so I don't have to take this off, but you might have to. There's a little jet in there. This is a needle, so you got to be careful. Just make sure that port's clean for the gas to come down into the bowl. And also, another thing I like to do is just very carefully, with eyeglasses on, and if you want to wear rubber gloves, you can, just clean out all the garbage, but don't let it get inside here, because that's where all your ports are. So now we're just going to make sure that the seal's clean, put the bowl back on, put that nut back in. It doesn't matter where the jet is. You just got to screw it back into the bottom. Kind of snug, not loose. There's a gasket on it, so it should seal itself. So now we're just going to reverse the order, how we took it apart, doing the last thing first. I like to put the springs like this so I know where they go after. Just an additional note, if your mower doesn't seem like it's at the proper RPM, you should be careful, but you could actually just fold this metal thing out just a little bit. You see the spring stretch? Just a touch, and it'll actually bring the RPM up and give you a little bit more power, but you got to be careful. Don't overdo it. Now we're going to connect the gas line. Be careful, because gas is obviously going to come out if you have gas in the tank. So you want to try to do it pretty quickly, like that. Okay, the carburetor's all back together, guys. We're going to put the cover on. This is the airbox cover. Make sure you vacuum it off like this. So now I have everything back together, the cover back on, and we're going to try it. If it doesn't work, then I don't know. We'll have to make another video. Let's see. Thank you.
Okay guys, make sure to like and subscribe, and in the comments down below, let us know if you tried this and it worked. Alright guys.